welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It is our Health Tuesday, so we have to get into talking about fevers and pain. Now, when your child has a fever or even complains about pain they may be experiencing, it can kind of be a hard thing to swallow, whether you wait it out or take action. You might be wondering which direction to go. Well, today we're joined by pediatrician and a friend of Expresso, Dr. Anisa Vahed, to help us understand when you treat a fever, how to manage pain safely, and also how to make sure we're dosing correctly, especially for kids over the age of 6 years old. Welcome back, Doc.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Well, let's start with something that I think parents stress quite a bit about, and that's a fever. Now, I think my question, and maybe their question may be too, when do you know when to intervene when it's a fever, or just the body doing what it needs to do to get rid of what it needs to get rid of?
Yeah, so I think with the flu season that's been going around, everyone automatically sees that fever and their heart sinks and they're already like, oh, another fever.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing is not all fevers are bad. So fevers are immune response that your body's trying to fight off an infection, and we need to let them do what the body needs to do. So if your child is completely fine, happy, smiling, we leave that fever alone. We won't treat it. But if your fever comes with other associated symptoms like trouble breathing, if they're starting to feel and look lethargic, if they've got any kind of funny abnormal rashes, or if they're not actually wanting to drink, that's when we'll say, you know what, go and get it checked out, start treating it with some paracetamol.
Okay, and we'll get into the paracetamol chat in just a little bit. But when it comes to a few things that parents might be able to do to treat symptoms at home before they go to the doctor, are there any?
So big things are letting them rest.
Okay.
So we want them to not go to school. We want them to relax at home, be in their normal environment. Regular analgesia, so get on top of that fever and try and keep them all nice and comfortable and keep up with their fluid intake.
Okay, and then once that's done and they're still not well,
that's
then
when
we
you need to
seek
come
medical
and see us.
attention.
Yes.
I think it's absolutely important to do that. Here comes the paracetamol chat. We have to bring it up when it comes to medicine, and it comes to dosage, especially at any age of a kid. It might get a little bit tricky as you make your way up. So what should we do there?
So the big thing is with a lot of the over-the-counter medications, you've got the drops, you've got the syrups, and you've got the suppositories, and you've got the tablets.
Options.
There's all different doses, and there's lots of options. Problem is also with flu season, we're also giving them flu medication. So a lot of those medications also contain paracetamol. So you've got to be wary of the dosing. So that's where a lot of us pharmacists and doctors will actually guide everyone and say, listen, be wary of this one, or do a lower dose on a certain medication.
Right.
But the big thing is, especially if we're doing anything with plain paracetamol like a Panado syrups, we don't want to overdose. So we want to make sure we're not doing more than 4 doses in a 24-hour period.
Right.
But we will work out that dose according to the weight.
So how do you know that you may have overdosed a little bit or maybe a lot of it?
So the big thing is that it's always too little or too much. I think that's the big thing with with parents. So we will work it out according to the weight. So we'll kind of say, you know what, if it is more than 5 mils in a 24-hour period, that's when you're going to start exceeding it. But if you're finding that, you know what, you've gotten to that 4th or 5th dose and your child's actually looking a bit more lethargic, it's not responding, that's when we'll start getting concerned. Maybe there's too much of it, and we'll start looking at liver functions to check that there's no overdose.
Right. At least there is a solution and lights at the end of the tunnel anyway. And here's where I'm really curious. When it comes to how they take their medication, from syrups to tablets, how do you sort of introduce tablets and train them to swallow them?
So kids can actually start learning to take tablets as early as the age of 5 to 6.
Wow.
So a big thing for us is looking at their swallow reflex. So if they're able to swallow, say, a Smartie with a small sip of water, then you can actually start teaching them how to take a tablet.
Okay, so you do the test.
Yes,
You say,
yes. You give them a Smartie and you say, here's a sip of water, try and swallow it. And then what you do is that as you start as they start getting a bit more confident, then you can go a bit more of a bigger sweetie, more of a bigger candy. Some pills you can actually go and split it in half. So especially those big antibiotics, you can split in half.
Yeah.
So if they can take that tablet, the Smartie very easily, then it's quite actually.
And is it resistance? Because I feel like even at my big age, I'm like, no, I don't want to do this.
No, but the thing is, it's a confidence boosting thing. So you
Okay,
play a game with
fair.
them, you try and get them confident, and then you give them the options. I think a lot of kids want to negotiate. So give them the option and say, listen, dude, you've got 20 mils of syrup to take. That doesn't really taste nice. Or you can take a tablet, you're
Once
done,
off.
once off, and then you're sorted. then they're actually...
I'm actually taking mental notes because I negotiate with myself and I have to tell myself, you have options here, but please take the quicker route. When it comes to medical myths, I mean, we all grew up with so many of them, old wives' tales as well. Do you have any top of mind that you just want to kind of bust right now?
So I think the big thing I'm always fighting with my parents is that the higher the fever, the more severe the illness. And that's not necessarily the thing. Our fever needs to actually have time to actually break. So we give it a 48-hour mark and let the body naturally let it do its thing.
I think that's also applicable to adults, right? Sometimes we like, oh, all the medication because it's rising.
And a high temperature, you need antibiotics. You don't necessarily need that.
Our bodies, I think, are pretty powerful and they can do what they need to do. Thank you so much, Doc, for coming through. I've definitely felt more insightful after this conversation. And parents, I know that you also feel more empowered. So we can't wait to have you back to continue the conversation. But we all know that fevers are a part of childhood. But with the right knowledge and, of course, with the right care, they don't have to be scary, okay? And for more health guidance and also support this winter, please go ahead and visit beprepared365.co.za and chat to your pharmacist about the best fever and pain relief options for your child's age, but also for your child's individual needs. And here's something for you, Expresso fam. You stand a chance to win 2,000 Rand cash. Yes, cash money. Reply to the competition post on our Expresso social pages and just tell us whether you're usually feeling a wet or dry cough when you get hit with a cold or flu. Which option does your body usually go for? And don't forget to use that hashtag @ADCOCK and entries do close on this Sunday. T's and C's, of course, can be found on expressoshow.com. That is where we leave your medical conversation right now on this Health Tuesday. So you might be feeling like, give me something to lift my spirits, Carissa. Well, I've got just the person to do so. Her name is Zanele.